Hello and welcome to the new Ashla podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm your host, Justin Gates. I am joined by Michael Perry, my co-host. He's a student of mine, but he's also a teacher to me too. So there's an axiom for that, Michael. I want to introduce everyone today. We have a special guest with us, Brenda Lee Martinez from Soul Deep Life. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really looking forward to this interview.
Thank you for having me.
So, for those of us out here who are just learning of you today, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Any hobbies, passions, whatever you're comfortable with sharing with us.
Okay. Well, as me as the person, not as the business. I am a mother of two, stepmother of two. Between us, we have 8 grandchildren and 2 great grandchildren. Take that back, 3. We just had the third.
Oh, congratulations.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And we have recently, in less than a year, moved away from Colorado Springs up in between Buena Vista and Salida in a little town called Northrop, and into a tiny home where we have access to hiking and fishing and friends, and I'm really loving life these days. And as far as business goes, my business is Soul Deep Life, like you said, and it encompasses a plethora of things. Once I discovered my gifts that were always there, but I didn't realize they were there. They were kind of suppressed from childhood upbringings and just different beliefs. Once Reiki, one of the foundational things that I do, came into my world, it really introduced me to me in a way that I had not explored before. And through it, I have added modality, top of modality, atop of modality, to enhance not only who I am, but who I get to serve as my clients and customers and friends.
Yeah, it's really crazy all the different things you practice. I know when we first met, when I first went into looking into you, when I heard for a referral from one of my close friends, I knew you did Reiki. And then I found your website and oh my gosh, you are so multifaceted.
There's
So is
just so
Reiki where
many.
you began?
Reiki was absolutely where I began. Of course, those things that show up in your childhood and teen years that have indicators that there's more. I think I saw my first ghost when I was 13. I mean, physical, like seeing another person in the room. Saw another one when I was in my early 20s. And the crazy thing is, it was just like seeing a regular person. And it didn't freak me out. It didn't bug me. And I've always known things all my life. But when it came to Reiki, Reiki actually found me 10 years before I let it into my life. I was sitting at a bar stool, single mom, after my shift in a very small town, Woodland Park, just out of Colorado Springs. And so therefore, everybody when you're in these little towns, and they walked
Nope.
in,
Yeah.
and this girl just looked at me, and she made a beeline to me like we'd been best friends forever or something. And she tells me, I just finished my Reiki class. And I, of course, looked at her like, you did what? And who are you? And what?
Yeah.
But she goes, can I show you? But okay. Well, I tell you what, she put her hands in the middle of my back, and it was like lightning. Electricity went from the top of my head down to the bottom of my feet. I could feel it in my soul. And it was like, okay, wait, what did you just do to me? And what was that? She goes, Reiki, it's amazing. And off she went with her party and sat down. And, it was one of those, I sat there going, okay, what the heck just happened?
Right.
Right.
As life happens, being a single mom and doing the things you do, it just kind of got tucked away in the back pocket. And fast forward about 10 years later, I was together with my husband, now no longer bartending. I was in a corner office in a high-rise downtown Colorado Springs working for a financial advisor, completely bored out of my gourd, going, what am I going to do with my life? I've got to do something with my life. Thought about massage, but from all the years of bartending, my wrists were not that great. My shoulders were not that great. And out of the blue, out of those angels' energy, came Reiki into my mind. And I started researching it. So without ever having an actual session, I decided to learn how to do Reiki. And I had my first class in February and did my second class in March. And I knew between the two of those that it was definitely something that I wanted to be a part of for the rest of my life.
Oh, that's beautiful. It's crazy how things like that happen. It's like we'll have something happen, years will pass after something happens, but it'll be that little inkling in the back of our mind that just pops up eventually, and it's like, I need to look into this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And wow.
Well, and it's like when you look back now, there's like this synchronicity that was happening that was, completely oblivious to at the moment.
I look at the time there that I was at the bartending. I had come out, I was in the midst of coming out of a very abusive marriage and was learning about my backbone, learning about being my own person. And at the time, my energy was not ready for Reiki energy. My vibrational level was not a place that I didn't even know the word vibration at the time.
Right.
My
Right.
my first Reiki class, I was introduced to chakras. I was introduced to meditation. I was about as green as I think you can get coming into a spiritual world like that. And through my teacher, through the students that were through the classes with me, I was introduced to people being comfortable with saying the things that came to their mind.
Mhm.
I had always known things all my life. I thought everybody did that. I didn't realize it was a thing until Reiki 2, when somebody put a name to claircognizance, which is clear knowing. And I was like, oh, that's not something everybody does?
Hmm.
Turns out, no, they don't. And my poor kids, I raised them always thinking that they knew all the things that I knew. Turns out
Right.
they,
Yeah.
they didn't. But it was through that time. It was a 3-year period of going through all Reiki 1, 2, master and master teacher. And along that time, my teacher, I was blessed to also study with her about law of attraction. So I did a deep dive for 5 years into the law of attraction, and it really set the foundation to be who I am today.
Oh, that's beautiful. It's crazy when we jump into this type of adventure how much we truly change. Like, we have many life changing moments throughout our life, but it's when we begin doing this kind of work on ourselves, this deep understanding of ourselves, do we truly shift as people?
Right.
What kind of philosophical practices or ideologies did you have prior to this? Like, what was your worldview at the time before, as you were going through this dark night of the soul? Like,
So to me, I was blessed enough that at a younger age, Mary Kay came into my life. I was a Mary Kay consultant for a while. Actually, I still am. I just use it for the makeup. But they introduced me to self-help books. So I had started on the journey in a kind of a introverted way of reading these things and learning and growing. Brian Tracy and Ogma Dillon and How to Win
okay.
Friends and Influence People. Those kind of things were already kind of starting the wheel into who I was becoming. And then the Reiki came upon me, and then Abraham Hicks was who we studied for law of attraction. But prior to that, I was raised very young as Catholic, and then Christian after that, and mixed in with some Baptist and a little bit of Lutheran, and a very good fear of God and the devil. And learning about all the things that I was doing, I had a very strong reaction when I first started reading the book Acts, and it was Ask and It's Given, because they were talking about empowering you as you being God. And it was like, oh my gosh, this is blasphemy. How can I,
Mm.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
but then the other part of me went, well, what is it different in here than is different in anything you've learned so far other than acceptance?
Oh,
And
that's beautiful.
something inside of me went, oh, that's what's been missing from all that I've learned before, is an acceptance of not only me, but an
Right.
acceptance of the love that I now understand that Jesus and God are.
Yeah, there's definitely a whole level of surrender there too that has to take place.
Very, very much so. And it was one of those, who am I to judge? Let me explore, let me get
Hmm.
all the facts. And I hit the ground running and have never looked back.
That's wonderful. And it's so true. I think a lot of people, they miss those opportunities that you've been talking about because they do hold too tightly to their ideals, and they're too rigid, and surrender is not an option. But even for our war buffs out there, surrender is a very viable tactic. It's a good one.
When I
So I think,
resonate so much with that, I mean, it's like the story of the Golden Buddha, right? Where there was a stone statue and it's in a small town, and one day they discovered that there was gold underneath the stone. And it's like once you realize the gold that's underneath all these layers you've built up, it's almost like an obsession of just wanting to chip away all these falsities and get to the pure gold that's on the inside of us.
Amen to that. Yeah.
yeah, that's why we practice alchemy, right, Michael?
You know,
Not physical alchemy, but spiritual alchemy.
emotional and spiritual.
Emotional, spiritual, mental. I'm not too interested in turning lead into gold, but I am interested in reaching my highest potential, and that's an act of alchemy in itself.
Talking of alchemy, I don't know if you guys want to hear a fun story. Is just prior to me moving to the space of where I met my husband and got into Reiki, that actually I look back now was a trajectory or a prophecy of me coming to be who I am. Alchemy.
Oh, you have my interest.
Yep. Yes, I want to hear it.
And it also connects into how I now connect to the 13 sign astrology. But back probably, I don't know, 6 months before my husband and I got together again. That's another fun story, but we'll leave that for another time. Um, I started having dreams. I've always been a very vivid dreamer, a very lucid dreamer. And I started having dreams about snakes. And
Hmm.
I would see it and I would wake up because it scared me. Well, it happened so much. I mean, it was night after night, month after month, that by the time I had the last dream about the snake, I was able to watch the snake. It was in a dark, dark cave, had some foliage in there. And this black and white snake comes out from behind one of the kind of like lava rocks, crawls across the floor, crawls up my body, wraps itself around my arm, and I watch. We're looking at each other's eye, and I watch as it puts its fangs into my arm.
Mm.
And I watched it go all the way in, looked each other in the eye, and I woke up, and I never had that dream again. But
Wow.
snakes to me now represent a transformation, a change, a way of being reborn. Something new is coming into your life, shedding the old,
Hmm.
looking at the new. And with the 13 sign astrology I do, the 13th sign is Ophiuchus. He's the snake bearer.
Wow. That's powerful right there.
And it shows us that this journey from the darkness, the journey from being afraid to who we get to shed, just like you said in the Buddha, who we get to shed allows us to become something more. And it's not always easy. Sometimes it's frightening. Sometimes it could be painful. But that alchemy is changing the poison to medicine.
Yeah. I know when I first started this journey, it's like I was emotionally, spiritually, I was up against a wall, and there was so much of me that I was realizing were just coping mechanisms, my personality. And I heard this quote that has just stuck with me through my whole journey, and it's that the snake can't shed its skin, the snake must die. And it's so profound because when we get into these dark places, when that fear gets to that full blown anxiety ridden, what am I gonna do? We are confronted with, do I succumb to this or do I grow? Do I rise from this and become more? And it doesn't mean caking on more layers, but diving more into your authenticity. It's that surrender and allowing ourselves to cleanse the parts of ourselves that no longer serve us. And
Yes.
ah,
Well said.
So yeah, by the time all of that had transpired and Reiki had came back into my life, it was this breath of fresh air. It was this next logical step into the evolution of who I am becoming.
I think we touched upon kind of that moment of awakening that kind of started shifting you to this path. What I wanted to ask you instead, how big of a leap was that leap of faith you had to take to leave the old behind and jumping into what you're doing now?
It wasn't necessarily a jump, it was more of a gradual climb. I had two lives. I had the life that was of Reiki and the people and the clients that I was looking to build that around. And then I had the separate life of people that knew nothing about what I was doing. And it was years of building up my confidence, building
Mm,
up many different modalities to get to a point that I went, okay, I can't keep this to myself anymore.
yeah.
So it wasn't necessarily a leap of faith. It was more a climb up a mountain where, you traverse this and that, but it's still, I knew without a doubt that I wanted to be what my teacher was to me for someone
Hmm.
else in this world. And along the way came different modalities that just uplifted and enhanced what the foundation of Reiki had given me.
And the reason I asked you that, because of course, we all travel in these kind of similar adjacent circles to each other, the three of us,
Yeah,
for sure. And there's a lot of people that are always kind of holding themselves back from, you know what, I'm just going to do it. Do you have any advice to them who want to go into a new life and serve people the way you do?
absolutely. I think the thing that made me come out of the woo closet to anyone and everyone was me coming to the realization that I was helping people. I was making a difference in their lives because of the path that I had taken, and what a disservice I was doing to those that couldn't find me because I was hiding.
That's
Man, that's
powerful.
beautiful.
Love that.
Well, and it's like, I mean, they have all that research coming out now. We talk about vibration and the emotional guidance scale and how love is the most powerful emotion. And we're discovering it's not. It's the second most powerful. The most powerful emotion we can vibrate is authenticity. And the more we can step into that, the more we can remove that fear of judgment or being looked down by those who may not understand our paths, the more we can fully express ourselves, the more I feel the universe meets us in the middle, the more abundance flows our way. And it's just beautiful hearing your story there on exactly that, discovering your authenticity and speaking your passion in the work you're doing because you're making a difference.
You can't see the smile I have on my face over here, but oh my goodness. So what you don't know is this year, well, every year for the past 4 or 5 years, I've come up with a word for the year to kind of just give the intention for the year. And this year my word turned into three words, but the foundational word is authenticity.
Mm,
But I realized
Wow.
you can't have authenticity without vulnerability and courage.
hmm
We just did an episode on that.
We did.
Really.
Yep. I think you'd really like our podcast.
I think so
Wink, wink.
too. I've
You
got
should
it
come
on
on
my
sometime.
I've got it on my list now of ones to listen to, so I'm sure I'll be listening more. But yeah, so you put that combination, it brings life into a whole other level, and I'm ready for another level up this year.
Oh, that's beautiful. So you talked about a mentor you had. Who had the greatest impact on you on this journey? What was
Oh,
the greatest lesson you
absolutely.
learned from him?
Absolutely my Reiki teacher. Barbara Cajun Scott is her name. She took me from this greenhorn of a girl who was wide-eyed going, what is this energy thing? What is this what thing? And I got to meditate chakras. What? And she took me from there to 5, 6 years later to a person who was confident in not only having Reiki clients, but more so being a Reiki teacher. I had more Reiki teacher students over the years than I probably have ever had Reiki clients. But she instilled not only confidence but understanding, brought in the law of attraction in a way that was comprehensive and embodied. And because of her and the people that I got to meet through her, I became so much more than I think I ever would have if I had not chosen her as my Reiki teacher.
Mm.
No, that's beautiful. I know you brought up Abraham Hicks earlier, and when I was going through the journey in my dark night, every morning that would be the first thing I listened to was Abraham Hicks, just to sort of get my headspace in a good place. And just the law of attraction is so much more than people think it is. I think that's one of the reasons
Yeah.
so many people get it wrong, but powerful stuff.
Well, we can't get it wrong. We just aren't intentional enough with it.
Mm-hmm. So
That's
over at
like attraction. I mean, you are never not in alignment. It's just what are you in alignment to?
mm,
Right. God, the truth to that. That was one of the hardest parts because I was dealing with something that I just didn't want to let go of emotionally. And I knew just that emotion alone was exactly what I was attracting in at the time.
And when you find out that the universe doesn't hear a negative, so a not or I don't, or, it's you calling in whatever it is, even though you're saying, I don't want this, you're focused on the it, therefore you bring it in. And yeah, that was an incredible lesson to learn.
Yeah.
yeah, and that's why I practiced a lot of affirmative prayer in my personal
Mm-hmm.
practice, my personal path, because it's 100% intentional and it's 100% present and it's 100% positive because I get to write it and I get to say it and I get to live it.
That's fantastic. Yeah. I think radical responsibility is is the thing that lifted me out of that darkness, learning that I was the one that was responsible for my life. I was responsible for the things that didn't go right. I was responsible for the things that did go right. And if I could be intentional with my thoughts, my words, and my actions, life had a much more welcoming platform for me to stand on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not to deviate too much, but can you go into real quick what radical responsibility is?
Radical responsibility to me is just like I was saying, it's all mine. I am responsible for every detail of my life. I'm responsible for my parking spot as much as I'm responsible for what I put into my mind, what I put into my body, what I put into my work, what I put into my clients, what I put into my relationships. I'm the one that's responsible for my life, my world.
Yes. It's one of the most profound lessons anyone can learn on this journey. The more we can acknowledge the part we play in our own suffering, the part we play in our own lives, because it's so easy to blame. It's so easy to chop it up to poor situations. But if we can take that step into radical honesty, we can step into our power because then we give ourselves our power. And I love that you brought that up because it's something we've never touched on in this podcast, but it is something I've done a lot of research and reading into because I absolutely love this topic.
Awesome. Yeah.
Well, I think our shows on the agreements do touch upon this kind of radical idea of taking responsibility for your life,
Yeah.
you
Is that
know.
the four agreements?
Well, we do talk about the four agreements a lot because I love that book.
Me
But
too.
It's his favorite. I just read it yesterday, actually,
yeah,
again.
I've read it and listened to it probably I've lost count many years ago. But we within our teachings we have something we call the 12 agreements, and basically it's just a list of 12 virtues that we
Oh,
call agreements only because you have to get up every day and agree to want to do that and to take responsibility for doing that for yourself. And
mm.
because people don't like the word virtue anymore and it's kind of a dirty word for some reason.
Well,
So
religion probably has a lot to do with that.
probably, yeah, I think so. But we're trying to purpose it into something useful for folks. So
I like it.
yeah. So over at your website, brendaleemartinez.com, you have something that caught you. What? Let me. You have tons of stuff there that's really cool, and we could spend probably 14 and a half hours talking about everything. And I don't think any of us are ready for that. But
Right.
there's something that really caught my eye that I thought was so awesome. There's a page on there under resources, and there's a quote at the top. It says, "There is no such thing as competition in an abundant universe." And then you list other people that can, serve people with their gifts and their skills. That to me is you don't see that anywhere. And it's actually it actually motivated me. So when we put our website out, we're going to have something like that because it's such a powerful and wonderful thing. What's kind of the mindset around that? Because you don't see it anywhere else.
That comes back to the law of attraction. I have my own set of qualities, my own set of skills, and I bring me into everything I do. Therefore, I'm going to attract the person that is exactly right for me. And if for some reason we're not a fit, I probably know somebody that is going to be a perfect fit. So it benefits, it's a win-win. I studied writing for several years, and the letter B is all about win-win. And B happens to be the beginning of my name. So when I can find a win-win situation, it's obviously what I'm going to go for.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just another way to serve. It's beautiful.
Yeah, so I truly don't, I really do not believe that they're in the word competition, because you attract who you're meant to attract. I attract who I'm meant to attract. And we can overlap,
Hmm.
but it doesn't have to repel.
Mm.
It's funny the synchronicities between you two. I know when Justin talks about students, you're almost speaking word for word how he tells me about, when he takes people on, he tries to give everybody an ear and everybody a chance to learn from him. But exactly how he phrases it is like, if it's not a fit, then I'll help them find someone, or I will support them in finding someone who can teach them in the way that is best suited for their learning. And I don't know, it's just beautiful how much I'm hearing mirroring in this, because that is what this higher journey is. It's no longer control. I remember I started working a bit with Courtney back when I was going through all this while I was studying under Justin. And I told Justin, like, I have another teacher I'm working with just to learn some new things. And he's like, if I was a self indulgent person, I'd be a little upset about this. But no, please expand your knowledge, expand your wisdom. I support you in learning from other people. And it's just,
Lord.
it's, yeah. And it's just beautiful how much I'm hearing that mirrored between two people who I do admire in their teachings and their journeys, because you both walk which you speak.
That's an important virtue. And I'm going to use the
Yeah,
word virtue because that is actually what it is.
I love the word virtue. I
I
just
love
don't.
the word virtue.
I just
And
don't.
it's
I don't get much from others. They don't like virtue.
Yeah.
I'll have to ask my Gen Z, my youngest daughter, for a new hip, cool way of saying virtue. Maybe I'll reach some more.
You'll have to let me know what that is, because
I will. I definitely will. If I can understand and pronounce it, because some of those
well, this
those
is
are
true.
tough to do. Probably have better luck, learning ancient Aramaic or something before I learn.
so. What is your dream? You have all this work you're doing. I mean, you can tell you just expanded and expanded. What is the legacy you want to leave behind? What is it you want to leave behind? Yeah.
Well, those are two different questions. The dream is me continuing to grow and expand my work. The word retire really doesn't fit into my vocabulary, even though I live a semi-retired lifestyle. I get the pleasure of working my business into the life that I live. And my dream for that is to incorporate all that I do into a modality that is cohesive for the people that I work with, my clients and my friends and myself, in a way that it's not just, say, reading Akashic records, doing emotional work, doing astrology, doing Reiki. It's more of a blended type of overarching multidimensional transformational type of offering and that's my biggest work right now for this year. And then my legacy is the people I get to touch, the people that I get to help find a new way of looking at life, or a pain-free way of being, or opening or planting a seed that helps them spill over into their lives, into the lives that they spill into, in a way that is uplifting, powerful, and bringing the power back to whoever it is, so that they understand that they are the ultimate healer of their life.
Mm.
Sounds like you're doing just that. I know when I started my journey, I know when I reached out to you about uh Reiki. I ended up going to a vision board group at your house. Was the first time we ever met,
Mhm.
and since then I know you've given me my Reiki 1 training. Yeah, you're just such a wealth of information, and you're so knowledgeable in your fields.
Well, I think whenever we step into something, it's important to upkeep that continuing education, if you
Mm.
will.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I've not stopped reading, taking courses, learning since I took Reiki 1. And that was back in 2008. It's been a while. It's been a hot minute. There's always so much more to learn, to grow, to become. And the more I fill myself up, the more I'm able to spill over into others.
Yeah. Oh, that's so powerful. So, would you say the greatest lesson you have learned, if you had to pick one thing that had the biggest impact, what lesson would that be?
I think that would be the lesson of the radical responsibility
Mm.
that I am in charge of my life. And the more I am intentional with what I fill myself up with, the more that quality gets to spill over.
Yeah, it reminds me of something I heard or read before, and I'm going to butcher this if this is a quote from somebody. I apologize. But it's one of those ideas where, not everything that happens to me is my fault, but how I heal and move forward is my responsibility.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
So I
Yeah.
think we touched upon your recommendation to people, your advice to people kind of starting out on the path. So what wisdom or advice would you give to those who are going through some hard stuff right now? Maybe they're stuck or stagnant or just over it.
I tend to come through to things as a very Pollyanna type of looking at things.
Hmm.
It's who I innately am, but it's also who I've gotten to become, been allowed to become. Like I said, when I started this journey in my early 20s, they were very tumultuous. There were a lot of tears, a lot of hard times, but because I chose to look at them as learning opportunities, as growth opportunities, and was able to look back and see who I got to become because of them. That makes all the difference. It's did I have a hard marriage? Yes. Was it easy? No. Would I change a thing about it? Not in the slightest. And that's because I got to become who I am because of it. And I get to help people because I had that experience. And if I didn't have that experience, I wouldn't be who I am today. And it wouldn't have led me to be a single mom bartending. It would have, I got to become a Reiki master teacher because I was a single mom who had left a tumultuous relationship, who learned how to have a backbone, who then learned how to be whole, who then learned how to be in a relationship, who then learned that there are people that are good in this world. And then I got to learn Reiki, and Reiki again set that foundation, this energy work. The world of energy eventually made sense. And the energy I put out is the energy that I get back. When I'm worried, I get worrisome thoughts. When I'm happy, I get happy thoughts. And if I can blend in a marriage of hardship and joy and despair and gratitude, walking the shadow and the dark, the light, and merge them into who I get to be. It's a lesson in life that says to me, it's all perfect. It's all exactly how it's supposed to be.
Mm.
Oh, that's so beautifully said. I mean, it's in our darkest hours do we truly cultivate our strongest character. And in those moments, it may not be pretty, it may not be sunshine and rainbows when we're in
Yeah,
those dark spots, but God, it is in those moments are the most character defining moments of our lives because that's when we truly grab life by the reins and take responsibility. We decide that we're sick and tired of being sick and tired,
Mm.
and we know we deserve more, and we fight for that beautifully. Beautiful.
It's been my experience that these kinds of things make the best of us. They really define who we are in those moments.
If
And
we
what we're
allow them.
capable of. Yep, if we allow
Yeah.
them, that's absolutely right.
We either get bitter or we get better.
Amen. Yeah.
And when we know better, we must do better.
Yeah. And, it just popped into my head, the whole river analogy, that water is never going to touch the same spot twice, but it
Never.
makes an impact on where it touches.
Yes.
And
So what do you think the world needs more of? It's one of my favorite questions.
this probably goes back to my Pollyanna. I don't know that it needs more or less of anything, because I truly believe we are living in perfection. If we were nothing but light, we couldn't see. If we were nothing but dark, we couldn't see. But because we add the contrast of this crazy 3D reality that we call Earth, there's this beauty in the shadows, there's a beauty in the light, and we get to experience the highs, the lows, and everything in between. So to me, the world needs nothing. It's exactly as it's supposed to be for this moment until it's not.
That was a really good answer. Dang.
He's, and I'm sure Michael would say, "Oh, she's just kind of, um, what's the word I'm looking for? I
Harmony?
don't, huh?
Harmony's what I kept thinking
Well,
of,
yeah,
which is your
because,
greatest lesson.
oh my God, I love her so much. That's it's the most beautiful thing ever because it is all about harmony. That's the universe. What the universe wants. It moves us. It moves us left. It moves us right, up and down. It just wants us to be still and be in balance. And you're right. Everything is already in perfect harmony. It's us who disrupts it from our own personal point of awareness.
What am I focused on?
Right. Exactly.
And what
Exactly.
I'm focused on is generally what I get. And again, all of that comes back to that, the Reiki foundation that gives the understanding for those that aren't familiar with Reiki. It's an energy type of, for lack of a better word, learning that I am not the one doing the healing, learning that it is the energy that flows through me that allows the person that I'm doing Reiki for to heal themselves. And it goes back to that connection of how well am I connected to my higher self, my divinity, God, spirit, universe, in allowance of that energy to come through me to be a conduit for whoever it is that I'm working with.
So let's switch gears for a minute. We're going to come back to Reiki because that's probably one of the things that I need more understanding on. But let's talk about Soul Deep Life at BrendaLeeMartinez.com. Let's talk about the services you offer. There's so many. Just kind of walk us through what you do there and what you can offer people.
Okay, so of course Reiki. Now that I'm living the mountains and more away from people, I don't have a regular in-person Reiki practice as often. I come to Springs about once a month and do see people hands-on there, but I now offer distance sessions, which is something that's pretty darn awesome with Reiki. Once you hit Reiki 2, it's something called distance Reiki, and energy, of course, travels. So therefore, I can send Reiki energy to anyone, anywhere, at any time, as long as I have their permission. I also teach all levels of Reiki. I've been doing that for about 15 years, and that again is really probably the foundation of who I am. From there, I learned something called soul realignment, which is reading the Akashic records. And for those that don't know what that is, it's just basically the book of life, or anything and everything that ever was or will be is written in the records. And I tap into past lives and see what's working, what isn't working, and how it's impacting a person's life in the here and now. There's a bunch of different places with that I can go. From there, astrology came into my life. That's probably, they talked about hobbies. It's the thing that I'm forever studying, forever reading, forever. There's just a plethora of knowledge to astrology. The particular type of astrology that I do is, like I said, 13 sign astrology, whole house. So it's not very mainstream. What most people are used to in astrology is the 12 sign system with
Mhm.
even houses. This is uneven houses because Pisces, which we are actually still in, if you look at the app and look at your sun, It's still in the constellation of Pisces. Aggravates a lot of people, and that's okay. We're so much more than just one particular sign. But if you look at Pisces in the largeness that it is, right next door, Aries is a much smaller constellation. Taurus is a different size. So we try and put our sky into this beautiful, even 30-degree chart, and our signs are not even 30 degrees. So the difference is the astrology I do is very esoteric. Ophiuchus into it. It gets us off the karmic wheel of the 12 signs and into the galaxy. Ophiuchus is the gateway to the galaxy. It's literally in the middle of the Milky Way. Obviously, I get passionate about that one.
Yeah.
Which then led me into the emotional body release that I do. That is based in emotion code. Dr. Bradley Nilsson is the one that created emotion code, and I've taken it kind of like I was talking earlier and made it my own. I add the Akashic, my ability to tap into past lives in the Akashic, being able to tap into my psychicness with ancestral. I can take the person and go, okay, this is the hidden emotion. Did this come from a past life? Did this come from your ancestors? And when we discover that, I can, with my clairvoyance, see that past life or see that ancestor. And we work through that emotion through law of attraction to the point that it's cleared. And then I use Reiki to help kind of cement the clearing.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, I also offer card readings, and the umbrella over it is a discovery session, which is a 2-hour session, either online or in person, where we come together for 2 hours and go, what do you need? What are we looking for? And astrology might come up, Akashic might come up, emotion, whatever it is for those 2 hours to transform this person on a, again, multidimensional type of level that works in the past, works in the future, works across ancestral lines, timelines, to a whole body, whole soul, whole quantum type of healing. And then with that, I add spiritual ascension mentor, which is just us getting together and going, where are you on your journey, and how can I help you get to where you would like to be?
I imagine you meet so many different interesting people. And this is kind of a side question just for my curiosity. How often do people get mad at you sometimes when you give them information that they don't want to hear? Like if you tell them about a past life and they're like, no, 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 no. Like, do they ever kind of push back on whatever kind of life they led before because maybe they weren't maybe very important in a past life or something like that?
No, they don't, and it's because of the approach that I use. I don't look into past lives to go, you were this, that, or the other thing. It's
Gotcha.
what are the things that were blocking you? What are the things that weren't working for you? What are the things that are in correlation to that in your life right now? And how can we work to understand so that that's no longer an issue in your life?
That's awesome. It takes that egocentric ideal out of it, like so many people are drawn to. They want to know that they were the Queen of Sheba or, you know.
Right. Yeah. No, it's again that intention. Why am I in the records? Why am I looking? And it's to help this soul understand who they are, why they're experiencing the things they're experiencing, and what does it look like to move past them.
Very cool.
Man, it's just beautiful how your work does intertwine with itself, how it all sort of just stacks on each other and blends so beautifully. I feel that's one of the things when you get into the healing scene, especially if you want to become someone who practices this stuff, is that it all builds upon itself. And there's usually that hunger for knowledge, and you can't help but want to expand and learn and grow and then give back what you have.
Absolutely. And I think one of the hardest parts of putting together a business like this that is so multifaceted is listening to the business gurus that go, well, you have to niche down, you have to niche, you have to be in this little box. And I'm not an in the box person.
Yeah.
I love, and most people really aren't. I love that I get to do something unique and different on a daily basis, and that I get to blend what my knowledge is so that it can serve the person in the best way possible without me having to go, well, I'm just a Reiki teacher or I'm just an astrologer. And it's not that the people that are only astrologies are bad. It's that's what works for them. And realizing that I didn't have to have one thing for the rest of my life, that I get to explore and grow and become, is liberating.
Yeah. I know it's like right now I'm slowly building up my coaching practice and it's like I've thought about like where do I want to hone in on? I'm great at pattern recognition because shadow work's become something that I realize I'm really gifted in being able to look at what the underlying patterns are, but it's like, do I want to focus on relationships because I'm so passionate about attachment? Do I want to dive into working through trauma and childhood histories? And it's like, I've come to realize it's like I'm going to be a trauma coach because I don't want to have to narrow my focus down so much that I can't contribute in the ways that I know I could. So
Mm-hmm.
that's beautiful hearing your story because it's kind of where I'm at with the work I'm trying to start building for myself because yeah, I don't want to pigeonhole myself in an area where yeah, I could become a specialist in that area, but I could provide so much more insight because a lot of us with trauma, a lot of us with all these issues we're working through, it's not just attachment. It's not just our childhoods. It's a life of going through the motions and all the things we've accumulated since. And there's so much to work through. So, yeah, I appreciate you sharing that.
Absolutely. Just remember, we're multifaceted human beings, so therefore, why can't our businesses also be multifaceted?
Hmm.
Right. So I know we really wanted to dive into specifics as far as Reiki today. As much as I appreciate you giving a good summary of everything you work on because it's truly so much. But how would you describe Reiki for someone who's never heard of it? What are the benefits to Reiki? What does Reiki services provide?
Well, there's so much about that that I go, oh yes, and so much of it I go. Reiki is if you break it down, Rei is energy. Rei is that light. Ki is the energy, so light energy work. The particular line of Reiki that I do is called white light Reiki. When I first learned Reiki, there, was a handful of Reiki types, if you will, out there. And now I think there's many Reikis as there are practitioners. But it came from Reiki started in Japan. Dr. Makayo Usui, as I somewhat butcher his name, is the person that rediscovered Reiki. I think we are innately born with Reiki inside of us. It's a healing energy that once we come into alignment, and that's what the attunement does for you. So an attunement is what the Reiki master teacher does for the student to open up their key, their energy. So it's an energy work. It's you if you look to Jesus who did hands-on healing. It's a hands-on healing that doesn't necessarily mean hands have to touch the body. They can, but they can also hover over the body. And like I said previously, depending on the level of Reiki that you're at, Reiki 2, I can sit in my living room and do a Reiki session on someone that's across the hall, across the city, across the state, across the country, across the world. And the benefits of it are total relaxation, I think, is the biggest part of it. We live in a very stress filled world, and slowing down and relaxing is harder and harder because we are so connected. So, the relaxation part of it allows the body to go into that healing homeostasis type of state where when you're relaxed, you're open to receiving. And when you're open to receiving, then the body has a chance to work on healing itself. I'm not sure if that answers it, but that's what I have.
I
No,
think
that's
so.
that's a good description right there.
I think
You know,
so.
I go to the same person for Reiki every time. Priya Maraka, I think is how you say her last name. But
Mm-hmm.
man, it's crazy. When I first lost my significant other years ago, and I was going through that hard time, the alignment I felt when I would get Reiki done, because we'll see how this goes. All right, I'll try it out. I need something because I am just a ball of emotions. but the amount of peace I felt going through that was just so serene. It was like, there's something to this. And it was crazy. The more I got Reiki done, there was more, I felt in touch with, I don't know if there was a different plane or what, but I would see figures in like the back of my eyes. I don't know if that's a thing or not, but I always found it interesting. I don't know if there were past lives or spirit guides. Do you have any insight on that out of curiosity? Because I always wondered about that.
You're not the only one that experiences that. I believe that when we get into that theta state, which is where you kind of go when you get in to the Reiki, when someone is doing Reiki on you, it's that not quite asleep but not quite awake, and the visions that can come or the hearing that can come. It was how I honed in on my own abilities. It was being able to be in that Reiki state of working on someone and having visions come in, having messages come in, and allowing and learning how to communicate that with not only my client, but asking them, kind of just like you said, what did you see? What did you experience? So that it normalizes it, because we really all are in some form psychic and connected to those other realms. And it's by allowing that energy state of relaxation and the energy to move through your body into all the meridians that it's designed to move into, that allows us to get into that theta state of connection and healing.
Yeah.
So besides calling it Reiki, what are the kind of the most common misconceptions about Reiki that you've encountered, and what would you say to kind of correct those?
Well, gosh, there's been quite a few. Misconception, probably the biggest misconception, is that it's some form of religion.
Mm,
It is in no way connected to any form of religion. It, again, is just an energy type of work where you do connect to that higher power, whatever your higher power might be, that you allow to move through you to bring that energy into the client. Those that have experienced Reiki will tell you about the heat. So when I do a session on somebody, my hands get very hot, or at least very warm, and you can feel, a lot of the people can feel that heat radiate through their body. So the misconception is that it's a religion. Another misconception is that it's a cult.
hmm,
Again, it's, okay, believe what you want to
that's
believe.
crazy.
Yeah, and another misconception is that me as the practitioner is the one that is healing the person.
Yeah.
When I first started Reiki, that was something that I kind of thought and understood. But the more I learned about it and the more classes I took, the more I realized and understood that it was just this energy that is in all of us. And by me being the conduit that puts my hands on the client, it's waking up that energy, that ki, the chi, the prana that is inside the person that I'm working on, that becomes active, awake, and alive, so that the body can heal.
Yeah. So who would you say would be best? Who would benefit the most from Reiki right now? What types of
Everyone.
illnesses, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual? I won't deny
Yes.
that. After
Yes.
going through it, it's like
The answer is
anxiety
yes.
being.
The answer is yes. My hypothesis is that with the way the world is awakening right now, the way that the little ones are coming in already so much more connected than we can imagine, that more and more we're not going to need a Reiki master teacher to attune anyone. We're going to have the people that have walked the journey to be able to share the stories, but innately we are all equipped to do Reiki. It's the allowing, the opening up of that energy, and it benefits everyone because it helps with everything. It helps with your mind, it helps with your body, it helps your spirit, it helps your soul, it helps your physical, it helps. There is not a thing that I can say in my life that I don't think Reiki touches. Through my master and master teacher courses, I no longer do Reiki. I am Reiki.
Mm.
Powerful right there.
So I noticed you've said the word attunement more than the word healing. Is attunement more better? Is that a better word for Reiki versus healing, or do they both kind of work together?
They could work together.
Okay.
It's not something I've overly thought about it, but I like that idea. It really is tuning in the body to an energy that is a higher vibration than what we normally walk around in.
And would you say by that attunement, you're actually creating bridges to the rest of ourselves, emotional, spiritual, physical? Does it kind of create those bridges so that there's more of a holistic kind of thing happening there?
Absolutely. Yeah. The attunement process itself, the Reiki master teacher is the one that passes the attunement on to the student, but it's through the channels of those that have come before me. I was lucky enough to study underneath a teacher that whose teacher and teacher before them kept the records. So there is a record of who and how me, my teacher, and the ones that came before her are connected back to Dr. Usui. And that attunement process is that of opening up the student to allow what was already there to integrate back into the body to be remembered.
That's something just hit me with what you said. I think you said that there is a line of succession from its origins down to its most latest practitioner. Is that right?
In my particular case, I don't know if that is for everybody out there, but I can look in front of me and go, this was my teacher and her teacher was this and that teacher's teacher, and it goes all the way back to Usui.
That's crazy because when you look at the very early Catholic Church, the laying of hands, as they called it,
Mm-hmm.
has a direct line from Jesus down to every single pope that's happened, and that's kind of crazy because very few things have that line of succession as you just expressed about your line of Reiki. Not a lot of studies or not a lot of practices can really say that. That's amazing.
Reiki was very, very regulated up until, gosh, I want to say late 60s, early 70s. Hawaii Takata brought it from Japan over to Hawaii, and she was the only one that was allowed to create attuned master teachers. And it wasn't until her passing when her daughter opened it up to allow it to grow and to blossom into what it is today. And there's part of me that understands why she kept the tight reins on it, because it kept the teachings on a higher, more reverent type of way.
Hmm.
But the fact that she wanted to charge $10,000 back when she was teaching it
Oh boy.
meant that it was only for the elite.
Right.
And like I said, I believe that everyone, there is not a human being on this earth that I don't believe would benefit from this energy, in the allowance and understanding that our healing, innate and inner healing, comes from this energy source that is within all of us.
I didn't consider it, but you brought it up earlier, sort of how that children are even being born more attuned than ever before. Do you think there's a good chance that 50, 100 years from now, Reiki may be standard practice or even something practiced within homes?
I believe that we will be coming in already attuned to it, and it will be part of who we are, not just what we do.
Mm.
Beautiful.
So kind of quickly walk us through a typical Reiki session. What kinds of things do you, as the practitioner, have to prepare for? And are there things that the receiver has to kind of prepare for before the session begins?
Those are good questions. I myself have kind of a bit of a routine that I do prior. I like to make sure that I'm in good energy. I will clear my space. I use Reiki symbols a lot of time for that. Reiki symbols are just part of the things that came to Usui when he discovered Reiki, like talisman, if you will, for those that don't know what the symbol is. And so I will use the symbols to clear my space and clear myself. I like to get grounded and connect to the earth, connect to my guides, my spirits, my angels, as well as connecting to the earth. And then when the client comes in, or whether I get ready to do a distance session, it's a matter of connecting myself with my Reiki guides to that person's energy. If I'm seeing them in person, they'll come in, we'll have a conversation. Why are you here? What are you looking to work on, or what is working in your life? What's not working in your life? That's when the chakras come in, the areas of our life, basically, what's working and what not working. So they say, my lower back is hurting. Well, I'm going to know that's likely root chakra, sacral chakra. So I'm going to pay attention to those things when I'm working on the person. Distance session, however, I do that differently. I prefer not to talk to the person before I sit down and do the session. I talk with them afterwards just to go, hey, this is what I came up with. This is the things that are going with you. I find my psychic abilities are heightened when I don't have the conversation beforehand. But if I have a client in front of me, it would feel rude not to
Yeah, it would be
just, hey,
kind of awkward.
get up on the table and don't talk to me.
Yes. Is there a bunch? Do you do Reiki practitioners perform like body scanning type stuff, especially when you're doing long distance? Is that what you would relate
Yes.
that to?
Yes, that is actually taught in detail in Reiki 2, a little bit in Reiki 1. It's really tuning into, again, back to the energy
Mm,
of what am I sensing? Is there a heat? Is there a cold? Is it neutral? So determining, what chakra is open, what chakra is blocked, what chakra is maybe putting too much energy out or not taking enough energy in. It's all in levels of energy. And Reiki 2, we also learned something very Reiki specific, which is called biasin. And it's the degree or vibration of the body from health to illness. And there's vibrations that you learn to sense within a body to help you understand on the level of health and level of disease that is within that body as you work on them. And as far as preparing, as far as the client goes to prepare, it's be in comfortable clothes if you're in person, be in comfortable clothes if you're not, because 9 times out of 10, probably 9.9% of the time, you're going to fall asleep
yeah.
or be in that such a relaxed state. You want to be comfortable when you're
Right.
either on the table or in your chair or wherever it is that you're having a Reiki session done. That's the biggest preparation. The consent, I think, is extremely important. I would never ethically push Reiki on someone who didn't want it. I have people that ask me to send Reiki to loved ones that are in hospitals or loved ones that are on their deathbed, and I will tune in energetically. If I can't physically speak to that person, I want to ask before I send Reiki to them. And I've only, in all the years I've been doing it, only had a couple of times where that energy was like, no, I'm good.
Get away from me. Yeah.
And in those cases, I honor the person who asked me by sending Reiki to the area around the person that I'm doing was
Is
asked
that
to do Reiki for.
is that purely like an ethical thing? It's just kind of your ethics, or could something bad happen if you forced a Reiki on somebody?
It's ethics.
Okay.
That was one thing and since you brought it up, it's a beautiful thing that I think about Reiki. No harm can come from Reiki. You never, working in someone's energetic field, there is never a chance of negative energy coming back up into your field because you are that conduit of being filled with that energy, pushing it out, and the energy of negativity is not in the same alignment of the Reiki energy. Doesn't mean that the person can't choose to take on heaviness, doesn't mean that they can't choose to process it through their body, but that's not Reiki.
And that might be another misconception is, I think you just dispelled another one is that I can't hurt you with Reiki. I can only help.
Yeah, actually, I've wondered that and I've never thought to ask it, but no, I'm glad you brought that up.
Okay.
So, what would you say the best way for people to start learning about Reiki is or getting involved as far as maybe finding someone to help them do Reiki on them or possibly get into healing others?
The wonderful thing now is there is a plethora of Reiki practitioners out there. When I first started Reiki, I was one of two teachers that I had the choice of, and practitioners were like none. So now I think is if you're looking for a Reiki practitioner, look at again the ethics,
Mhm.
what type of Reiki do they offer? Who have they studied under? Talk with them, ask questions. What is your thought on this? What is your thought on that? I think it's important to be discerning with who you're going to let into your energy field. And not all Reiki practitioners are on the same level. One of the things I offer is um, for people that have taken online Reiki courses that have not had a teacher to talk to. They've had, a computer program to learn through. I offer students of online courses that were taught in that way to come and study underneath me for a significant discount because I believe having this person just like I had my Reiki master teacher to guide me through this journey that I've been on until I was able to stand on my feet and do it myself. Having that someone that Reiki master teacher that you can rely on, I think is so important. So finding a teacher that does, didn't just get all three classes done in one weekend and go, I'm hanging up my hat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the background of this person? And I encourage that with my students as well. There's a link on my website to just that. I had a girl call me one time and I was so thrilled that she did, but she was really quizzing me on what Reiki I do, what background do I have.
Mm.
It was one of those that what she was looking for was not something that I could deliver or were willing to work with her to get. It was just not in my lineage, and I sent her on to someone else. Funny story is though, she went to that other person, decided she didn't like their energy as much as she liked mine, and ended
Yeah.
up coming back a few months later. But it was that beautiful way of going, hey, are you right for me? Is this
Yeah.
a good fit? And I think so many times we just see somebody's open sign and go, let's just go in there without going, well, where did they learn? Who did they learn from? What are your philosophies? What are your practices? I welcome that, and anybody that
Yeah.
you go to should welcome that as well.
Yeah.
Well
And
said.
sometimes what happens is people look for the dollar store version of everything, and honestly, you get what you pay for. You got to be careful about that.
I had a person on Facebook not too long ago tell me that my class was too expensive. And I said, well, yeah, you're not only getting my class, but you're getting 15 years of experience that
Yeah.
back up that
Yeah.
class.
Right. Right. I'm so I'm so glad that you because I was going to ask you for some red flags, and you already covered that beautifully. So I, I I always like to ask people who are experts in their field, what are kind of some of the red flags that people, because a lot of us go into this stuff blind and we're really easily fooled. So thank you for going into that.
Absolutely.
So, what would you say the next phase of your business is? As far as, I mean, I know you just moved, you're doing distance, and you come to the Springs from time to time, but where do you see your business going from here? What is the next step?
I am in a scaling up phase. I am more and more doing an online presence. It works for my lifestyle. The drive to Springs is beautiful and I still have to do it on occasion, but I don't want to do it as much as I thought I was going to want to do it. And I'm evolving as a person, as a practitioner, and the integration of all my practices into one cohesive offering is where I'm looking. Because I mean, you've seen my website, that there's a lot of people I've gotten the feedback, they go on and they're like, I want to do something. There's so much here, what do I do? It's that plethora of I don't want to miss out. where I'm coming to the realization that if I offer truly the multidimensional healing that I want to offer, it's going to come under the package of one cohesive modality that's mine, that
Right.
includes all of these things.
Well, and it's like you do offer so much. I've seen your TikToks and a lot of the videos you make offering just guided meditations when you release astrology readings for just what to expect in the coming energies. And it's like, I know personally, especially the astrology ones, like I always look forward to those because it sort of helps me get a baseline, gives me some food for thought and something to reflect on going into the coming weeks. So, yeah, I love how much you are building such an online presence because you are constantly releasing content.
Well, thank you. And I'm actually right now there's downloads happening. It started about a month and a half ago. I am working on masterclass, I think is where I'm coming to the foundation of. It's still so bubbling.
Okay.
But it is going to be a learning experience on kind of what we talked about earlier of bringing the light and the dark together, joy and sadness, happiness and sorrow, grief and ecstasy, how we can take a journey of duality and combine it to work for us instead of against us.
Oh, that's beautiful. I mean, it's all about unity, right? It's all cohesive. It's just we got to stop looking at separate things and realize how much, like you said, everything's perfect the way it is and how it all just flows together and builds upon each other. And as far as a lot of these resources you offer, we will be including a lot of the links to it, your different social media pages, your website. It'll all be in the show notes for anyone who's interested in looking into this.
Awesome. And just look for that master class if that's what it ends up being called. I have a feeling it will be released, launched, put together mid-month, end of month next month.
Well, perfect. Maybe we'll have to bring you on again to talk about it.
Oh my God, we could bring her on for like 14 shows, and I'm here for that. Listen,
I'm here for
you know,
that
I
too.
know
This
you're
has been
super
so
busy,
much
but
fun.
anytime you want to come on, we could, yes, because you're a wealth of knowledge and you're a wonderful servant to your fellow human. I really appreciate you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, the work you're doing is so beautiful. Now, on this podcast, we like to do different types of journaling exercises or just exercises in general. And you brought an exercise for us today, didn't you?
I actually brought a meditation for you.
Perfect. And this will be good because we have been getting into a lot of really heavy stuff on this show. And it's as much as it's great to help people work through shadow work and understanding the healing journey, it's great to have some things to help ground us as well. So I love that you're bringing that to the show today.
This meditation came to me via a friend of mine when I was going through some craziness and um, collecting energies that when you're in the thick of things you're not overly paying attention, and it was brought to my attention that the more we connect, that the less we are to worry about the energies that are around us or trying to attach to us. And it's not so much that there's anything out there that's going to quote unquote get us. It's what vibration am I attracting? So this particular meditation is a meditation to help you in your everyday life. It's a go-to that you can do very quickly or very over a long period of time. It's one that you can listen to over and over again to help you set a tone, a vibrational tone for your day.
Okay. Awesome.
All right. So if you're sitting down, go ahead and put your feet on the ground. If you're laying down, just imagine that you can connect with your feet to the ground. And we'll go ahead and just take a couple of deep breaths in and release. Another one in and release. As breathing is such an important connector to our just relaxation, to bringing us back into our body. By breathing in and breathing out, I want you to just start to imagine as you're breathing in that there is this beautiful incredible light that is, maybe 200-300 feet above you. And as you breathe, this light starts to move its way towards you and you towards it. And this light is white gold, a golden white light that begins to move into your crown, into the top of your head. And as it comes into your head, into the top of your crown chakra, it almost becomes liquid, where it gently glides into all the cells, all the places. And as this light moves into your head, it starts moving out anything that is dark, dense, not yours, anything that doesn't belong in the body. This light just begins to fill you up. And you breathe, and that light moves down farther into your throat, again clearing and moving anything that is not in alignment with your higher self, bringing you to the light, down into your shoulders, down through your arms, down through your fingertips. Breathing it down into, again, your shoulders and into your chest, into your heart chakra. Pulling this light down into your core, into your torso, into the front and back, hips, down into your thighs, into your legs. Pulling this energy, allowing it to move anything that is dark and dense, down and out into your knees. Moving this light down into your calves, into your ankles, into your feet, until this light now touches the earth. And the gravitational pull turns into roots at the bottom of your feet. And this light now travels through the roots, deep into the earth, down, moving through all the layers, clearing the roots with its light, moving it down into the earth, through all the layers, down, deep, far and wide, until it reaches your crystal. This is your personal crystal. It's a very large crystal that is in the center of the earth. And it can be any shape, any color, any size. This is your crystal, so connect to it, feel it, allow it to be whatever comes to your mind. It's perfect no matter what it is. And as this energy connects, the earth energy now begins to build within this crystal. And that earth energy now starts shooting up through those roots, coming back up through those layers, up through the dimensions, up through that place of the earth that is cleansed and refreshed, that is grounding and nurturing, moving it back up, all the way up until it hits the bottom of your feet, the bottom of your body. And now that earth energy moves up your legs, moves up through the knees, up through the calves, up through the ankles, up through the thighs. That earth energy is now moving up through your hips, moving up into your torso, into the heart chakra, where it now collides with the incoming light energy from above. And it gathers this heart energy, connecting, moving, and expanding this heart energy into a 360-degree circle of a rainbow that is all of your chakras in alignment, in a cohesive connection of groundedness and connectedness to your higher self, so that you can now open your eyes and work through and walk through your day divinely connected, divinely grounded, and divinely guided with your heart. And so it is.
Wow, I needed that.
Right?
I didn't know I needed it, but I needed it.
Were you doing a little Reiki with that? Because, oh my gosh.
Oh, probably. I'm forever.
It just kind of comes out every once in a while.
It just, like I said, it's who I am. It's part of everything I do, and if the body's receptive to it, then it connects.
My body was not very receptive to my early days of learning meditation. It's since learned better.
Oh boy, I hear you there.
You mentioned a crystal there. I wasn't expecting that, but that was powerful for me because as soon as you said that, I felt it shoot up into my heart, and I kind of felt like, I don't know how to describe it, but what crystal connects to you the most? Well, like, is there one that you connect to?
Angel quartz.
Angel quartz. I love angel quartz.
It's what my pendulum is, and it's a lot of the energy that I work with. I do a lot of work with pendulums. But yeah, the angel quartz that rainbow iridescence
Mm-hmm.
just
Oh, I love it.
has a lightness.
I'm looking at a piece of it on my altar here, and my altar is pretty much 98% crystals. If anybody was interested,
Well, ironically, it comes with the territory.
my old go-to was Angelite. I just connected so effortlessly with it. But these days, I discovered a new one when where was I? I think I was up in, oh, Glenwood. Is that right? Where the hot springs are? Glenwood?
Yep.
Okay. I was up in Glenwood and I went to this little crystal shop in town there, and this crystal just kind of pulled me over to it, and it was the first time I ever seen a Super 7. I didn't even know what that was, a Super 7. I'm like, "What is this? What is a Super 7?" And it's my go-to now. I love it.
Sorry, Justin, there's one that I think you want to look into. It's a sorcerer's stone, hard to come by. If you find it for $1 something, it's not the real thing.
Right? It's probably glass or something. Yeah.
It's Numite.
Numite. I'm writing that down.
I
And you
have a
guys hear
bracelet
my pin?
that's made of it the preparation you were asking earlier. That's one thing that I do not do a reading without the Numite on me.
Mites. Is that spelled Numite?
In you,
Mmitt. Gotcha. Awesome. I'm glad I asked you that because I have never heard of Numite.
I had not heard of the one that you just said. 7
They call it a Super 7, and it's
Super 7.
yeah,
Okay.
and they mine it, and it's literally got like. Now there are a bunch of fake ones out there because people just glue them together, but it is the one I have. It's weird because from top to bottom, I guess. Well, if you turn it, it could be bottom to top, whatever. But it goes through the colors of the chakra, and it's a stone that kind of naturally pulls these colors.
Okay.
And
I know the one you're talking of now.
yeah, so
I
I
have seen those before.
and I always kind of just like I've never heard the word Super 7. I don't know who came up with that. There's probably um, a different name for it. That's just kind of how I found it. But it's not like those, and you guys have seen them like where they'll take these crystals, and they're probably fake. Honestly, they're probably dyed agate or something, or dyed something, and they glue them together. But this rock is just this crystal's all one piece, and somehow, and I'm not sure on the science of it, but it turns red, orangey, and it has different pieces to it that are red, orange, yellow, green, et cetera, et cetera. So,
I'm gonna have to look that one up.
oh, it's amazing. It's amazing.
And then I also have one that's sitting on you call the altar. That I have one that has walks with me every show I do, or every it sits on my desk with me, and it's a natural black obsidian.
I love Obsidian. I love it. I would take it everywhere I go.
Yeah.
Same here, ironically. It's
Yeah.
so grounding.
At this point, if I could forge armor out of any crystal, it would be Obsidian.
Yep.
It
You and
really
me
would.
both. You and me
Yeah.
both. Yeah.
Yeah. It just doesn't play. It doesn't mess around. It's
It's
like,
a very
bring it.
much protective. In fact, my stone, like I said, I take it to, I'll do like the body, mind, spirit every now and then, or I'll do the Pueblo Metaphysical Fair. I also am a guest reader here in Salida, and this particular stone goes with me. And I've had people pick it up that just like, oh, this is the most magnificent stone. And I have had other people that pick it up and it instantly cuts them.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
And they instantly put it down, and it's like, yep, you're
That's like
doing your
having That's like having a really good dog. When someone comes around and they growl at him, you're like, yeah, get out of here.
Yep.
Another one because a friend of mine knew that I loved obsidian so much, they gifted me an Apache tear, and I'd never heard of those before either. But it's really good. It's really
Those are
powerful.
incredible.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that one too. And now Michael's going to make me take him shopping for crystals.
So just a crystal shop for anybody here in Colorado. The best place to go is Canyon City by the Royal Gorge.
Uh-huh.
It's 2 acres of stones, and the majority of them are natural stones.
Yes.
Oh,
It's
I'm gonna have to look into that.
You haven't
it's a
gone.
dangerous,
We're
dangerous
taking
place.
a road trip, Michael.
Let's
Literally,
do it.
listen. Literally, there are piles of crystals. These beautiful crystals just everywhere on the outside.
Everywhere.
On the inside, they have some really cool pieces too. But on the outside, I mean, you literally have piles of crystals. And if you're feeling some way, you start messing around in that back area of the store. Yeah, you'll know better. You'll know quickly. Yeah, I discovered, and why can't I remember what it's called? It's the gold rock. Gold. I'm gonna find it real quick.
Yeah, I don't know the name of it. One of my clients, actually, her uncle owns them.
Yeah,
But
yeah, and I
yeah,
guess
it's my favorite place in the state for crystal.
it is. It is. And so let's see here. No, that's in Golden. Let's see. It is the Gold Mine Rock Shop. It's in Canyon City, and it's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Literally, and if there aren't piles of crystals, there are these bins, these big giant bins.
They're the
And
old mining cars. They're old
yes,
mining cars full of, you name it.
they
I
got
just
They're
looked
lots
it
of
full
up.
of it.
This place looks amazing.
it is
I know, because
amazing.
whenever me and my fiance go to any town, then the one thing we always have to hit is the metaphysics shops. Go check out the
Yeah,
crystals in the town. So no, that's all right. Wow.
that place is amazing.
It's hard for me to leave out of there without a big handful of stuff.
Right. And I just imagine because they have boulder size crystals too, Michael. And they're literally the size of boulders. And I just imagine I have
God.
a house somewhere in the middle of nowhere, just surrounded by these boulders of crystals.
Uh,
So that's awesome. So, as is customary here, we give our guests the opportunity to leave some kind of final thoughts for the audience before we go. But before we do that, can you remind everyone where they can find your stuff, your pages at least?
The best place, gosh, all kinds of places. So my website is brendaleemartinez.com. You can find me at Soul Deep Life on Facebook. You can also find me on TikTok under Soul Deep Life, as well as Instagram under Soul Deep Life. I am closing down my Ophiuchus 13 astrology page and putting that all underneath the roof of Soul Deep Life. And trying to think, is there any place else? Those are probably the main ones that you can find. I'm on Facebook way more than I should be, but it's that one addiction.
and again, check the show notes. We'll have all the links there for you as well.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for spending your valuable time with us. I don't know how we could repay you for that,
It's
but I'm very
getting this word out there, and I truly appreciate it. I think the more that we're able to communicate the things that we're traversing through in the world right now, the more we realize we're not on this journey alone, and the woo woo that used to be so taboo is now coming to light, that it's all just a part of who we are.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful to be able to spread this message with the help of both of you
thank
and
you
your
so much.
platform.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Michael, there was something else that her and I are similar with that you didn't point out is I like to say woo woo too.
I
It's
get
the
in trouble
truth,
for
though. There's
saying
tons
that.
of flavors.
There's so many people that get offended with that whole woo woo. It's, I don't know, it's a little too rigid to it's fun. It's a fun word to say.
It is, and people, even if they've never heard it, they immediately understand what you're saying. But I say it affectionately because
Me too.
I am very much more a mystic than I am anything else, and I dabble in all kinds of stuff. So for me to say woo woo is I'm just kind of just playing with it. So
So
What I love that
yes,
you brought up the term woo woo closet. Like, I'm totally
yeah, I know.
taking
When you
that.
said that earlier, I was like, oh yeah, yeah.
well, I have Mystic on my business card. So I'm there with you as well.
Well, thank you so much. And we want to thank you guys out there for joining us today. This is a long one, but it's good. You got to listen to all the way through. And if you made it all the way through today, Michael, how about we give him 150 cool points? Feeling generous.
I guess we can let that slide this time, especially with how much content was brought up in this episode.
With love and gratitude, ad Lucium.
Ad Lucium.